Welcome back and thank you for supporting this channel. In this video, before I show the split screen comparisons, I've already done this with Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, who achieved the highest score, and Becky Moody, who was the 8th highest score, and Carl Hester, who was 14th. The link is in the description below. This is Jessica and Becky again, together with the lowest marked combination, Juan Antonio Jiminez Cobo, a remarkable 65 years of age, on his 15-year-old Lusitano Spanish horse. The combination are from Spain. And they scored 60.435%, some 22% behind Jessica, who scored 82.065, and Becky, who scored 74.938%, which is some 7% behind Jessica. I've included Becky because I considered that her test overall demonstrated the essence of a performance in keeping with my interpretation of the FEI rules of training for classical dressage compared to the highest score. I've placed all three riders in split screen, showing most of the movements to evidence my opinion. So it's not the full test, it's most of it where I've got the same camera angles, so could show you a fairly close comparison or the closest comparison. But first, let me refer you to several of the elements of the FEI training scale so that you can follow what I'm basing my opinion on. Suppleness, which is elasticity and freedom from anxiety. The movement cannot be considered correct unless the horse is working through its back and the muscles are free from tension. Only if the horse is physically and mentally free from tension or anxiety or constraint can it work with suppleness and use itself fully. The horse should convey the impression that it is putting its whole mind and body into its work. Indications of suppleness are, and I'm going to be looking at a swinging back with the tail carried in a relaxed manner. I'll be looking at contact, which is stated as acceptance of the bit, and aids, which means self-carriage. The horse should go rhythmically forward from the rider's driving aids and seek contact with the rider's hand, thus going into the contact. So my interpretation of that is that there should be no backward hand restraint. Indications of good contact are the horse steps forward to the bit through a straight and supple pole. The pole is the highest point. The line of the nose is in front of the vertical and in highly collected exercises at the vertical. The frame should never be compressed. Judges should always differentiate between nose behind the vertical, which may be a symptom of long-term incorrect training. So with this being all about harmony, they're stating here that nose behind the vertical reflects long-term incorrect training. Impulsion. The most important criteria of impulsion is the time the horse spends in the air rather than on the ground. And for this, they want to see a supple and swinging back. Impulsion allows the horse to move in a powerful and athletic way and to show elastic and expressive movement. This is where I think it gets rather shady. The athleticism and the expressive movement. Firstly, I need to mention about copyright. The use of this footage is in compliance with fair use for the purposes of educational comparison and analysis. Some more context. Jessica's horse is a veteran, 17 years of age. And Jessica is the reigning Olympic champion. Becky's horse is a relative youngster at 10 years of age. So the first move, they entered at A up the centre line in passage. So the first move, they've entered at A in passage and halted in front of the judge seated at C. And just in case you didn't know, there are 6 judges in the arena. Several of those are based in different positions so that the horse can be seen from a couple of different angles and then marked accordingly. Then the marks aggregated to make 1 score per movement. So Miroslav, a good start, but drifting slightly. This is the centre line, and he just seems to be leaning slightly to the left on this horse. Jessica is very straight, and possibly here Becky is about to turn. So not entirely well organised, but her upper body is straight, although yes, like Miroslav, she does show some loading to the right, whereas Jessica looks very evenly loaded on her horse. So a big difference there in the extended trot. And what the judges like to see is more of a U shape here. And it may be a lot to do with the conformation and also that this horse is a stallion, so very much more cresty compared with Jessica's horse, Wendy, a mare. And they are different breeds, but there does seem to be some compression here, as is described in the marking. And Miroslav is leaning back, and I'm concerned about the position of his saddle, which is almost on top of the withers. And yes, these other saddles are placed a little far forward for my liking, but this one in particular. And probably the other thing you'll notice is that there's 1 foot on the ground. I don't think this one's quite making or fully making ground contact. And if it was, it would be a concern of mine that this horse is making ground contact with with a fully extended front limb there, where you can see some mild flexion in Becky's horse. But yes, you can see also that Jessica is leaning back slightly, and Becky is slightly leaning back, but the more upright of the 3. Some lateral moves here. Yeah, I'll play that again, but if you watch Miroslav's horse, he's looking more compressed and lacking in impulsion, forward movement, compared with the other 2 horses. So let's look again. He doesn't leave the ground very much. There is not as much cadence as the other 2 horses. And he just looks overall almost disinterested. I wouldn't say unwilling, I would say disinterested, although they don't get marked for their interest. But you can see a clear difference between this horse's performance and the other 2. But in fairness to this horse, I like the stamp of this horse. And I think, despite his faults, he is more of a type like Becky's horse, not so extravagant as Jessica's horse, but this is more like what I would want to see in what I know to be classical dressage, that is overall healthier movement for the horse, or what we should be training for, what we should be preserving in the horse. I love this horse's back movement. He's got plenty of vertical movement, but I'm less happy with his rider's hands and the potentially resultant compression that's happening at the front. But again, it's very deceiving because this is a stallion with a thick cresty neck, but unfortunately he doesn't seem to be supple in the poll, which is what the marks are calling for. But there is some swinging in the back. And does this reflect long-term incorrect training? We'll have to see. Let's just go back and look at that again. Watch the back. Watch the back movement. It's good. And this horse covers less ground with the rein back compared with the other two. And I'm not liking how this movement was executed, because what I'm seeing here is a lot of interference from the rider. From this angle, he's got a good position and the horse has got a good frame. I know it's a slightly different stride, but very different from this nose behind the carpal joint or the knee. This is a very good picture to me, where Becky is giving with the reins. And you can see these two are in a comparable stride, although on different legs. And I like the horse's back movement. I think Jessica's horse has gone hollow here and has become more of a leg mover. But just watch the hand and the effect of the head bobbing that is the result. The horse is almost pulling forwards with the rein contact, where it should be consistent and steady. No, this is not a good picture at all. And slow motion, again, look at his hands. Stop. Yes, there is some reach of the horse's front limb. This horse is short-necked, unlike Jessica's horse, but I don't like this hand movement. I don't see the point of it. I don't know what he's trying to communicate to the horse. And the horse just lacks the sparkle that Becky's horse has. It lacks the harmony. And yeah, he just makes contact with the hind limb first, and then he's going to make contact with the forelimb with a very straight front limb. And that must cause concussion or excess concussion, where there is more of an elasticity with Becky's horse. But oh, just yanking with the rein, sitting back, saddle shifted up into the withers. Not a pleasant picture. Passage. Oh dear. He's yanking again at that rein. I have no idea why. That saddle is so far up the horse's withers. But apart from that, the horse has a good passage. I'm just less happy with what the rider's doing. It is a rather stilted passage compared with Becky's. Jessica's horse was more extravagant. But for leg movement, this to me is a perfectly acceptable passage and a good attempt compared with the other two horses, or comparable with the other two. But if you saw what happened there, the horse naps slightly. And this is why this rider, apart from his hands and the horse's frame and some signs of compression there, and the contact where he should be stepping forward to the bit with the pole straight and supple in front of the vertical, this is where he's lost substantial marks in that the horse was unwilling to do what was required. We'll see that again. Some hesitation. And the walk here, I really like how this horse tries to use its whole body. He is swinging through the back as is required. And I think that's a good walk. Compared with the other two, it's expressive, whereas Jessica's horse has something of a head tilt there, but it's good. And something that one of my commenters kindly pointed out was that in collected walk, it's a fault if dressage horses are not maintaining a 4-time rhythm with their hoof placement on the ground. So more of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, rather than a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm. So let's have a look at the winning score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And Miroslav, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. And Becky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Miroslav's horse appears to have the best quality correct walk, and I like to see the horses using their whole body for the walk. So let's look one more time for mobility of the horse's back. Good, good, good. So horse is sitting down. Jessica's horse has a very good sit down there, although some compression at the front. But yeah, Miroslav's horse is good. Passage, oh, just this hand movement. I just don't see what he's trying to achieve or how the horse is meant to respond in response to that hand movement. But nevertheless, a good passage and good lift. Good lift, good transition to canter. And here we have some mouthing. Jessica's horse is behind the vertical, and it just doesn't look good when the canter is poor quality. When the horses do have to use their whole body to express themselves, there shouldn't be any restriction there. They should be sufficiently trained to move in the way that's required. It should be effortless to them. So I'm not sure why they're restricted. Let's look at that once more. Canter transition. Yeah, you can see that Miroslav's horse is lacking impulsion. This saddle position, and if we track the points of the tree and the scapula here, the position of the cartilage, the scapular cartilage, looks as if there may be pressure from the tree points on it. So perhaps that's an issue. Yes, riders ideally should be positioned optimally, or the optimal rider position on a horse is close to the horse's center of rotation. And it may be that some riders place the saddle further forwards because this is where they want to be. But I question the suitability of this saddle for this horse and rider combination if they are aiming to get closer to the horse's center of rotation, but potentially if they put the saddle further back, they'd be unable to do so, but putting it further forward may impede the horse's shoulder movement, the scapular movement. But there is a lot to like about this horse. Let's look at that again. A lot to like about this horse, but just lacking expression, whereas I consider that an excess of expression, or it is extravagance, and not a reflection of athleticism. But this horse just needs to move up a gear. So I think the movement is pleasing, with the exception of any compression going on and the rider's hands or interference from the rider's hands with the horse's bit. But yeah, lovely horse. Lacking expression. This to me is textbook classical. And of course, Jessica's horse has a lovely lift to it. So very uphill. But I do query why she sits leaning back. It shouldn't be necessary. But yeah, overall, this horse is supple and showing elasticity, but again, lacking in impulsion, expression. And it may be because the conditions weren't quite right for this horse, because it was very hot there. And he doesn't seem bothered by the crowd, but you would want to see that a stallion has more expression in his gait than this horse has. Yeah, just see the lovely lift that Jessica's horse has, and Becky's. Yeah, there's some lift here, but not the ideal for a stallion at the Olympics. Beautiful mover though. And I would not question this horse's athleticism, but it's as if he's just not quite delivering his best on the day. Beautiful horse. Good change. And see how much lift this horse has here. This is huge. So what was it about this combination that lost them 20%? Was it just the napping, perhaps a move or two that wasn't performed, perhaps some accuracy issues? Why was he marked down so severely? So to me, it appeared to be lack of expression, not quite as powerful, not quite stepping forward to the bit. There is a good swinging back there, and he's just lovely. I think I would like to see that saddle. I'd like to see the rider get off and place this saddle further back. But he's clearly trying to do the best he can, but something's not quite working there. Was it the weather? Was it too hot? What was it? Lovely movement there. And the turn. Good. Comparable to the others. Extended canter. Yeah, it's fairly good. I'm seeing some mouth issues here with Jessica's horse. Nothing to report with Becky's horse. I think there's a change of leg here. think that's why Becky's leg is so far back. They have to change the lead to make the turn. Again, you see Miroslav leaning back. Still some mouthing issues there. Some compression in the canter. Yeah, so then they make a change of canter lead. You can see Jessica's horse is very hollow here. There is some compression in this horse. So which is the worst fault? Why does this horse deserve to achieve top marks and this one not? Because to me, this fault is as bad as this one. So it makes it very difficult for the judges, from my point of view, to award marks which are reflective of any faults with the contact, the stepping forward to the bit, the swinging back, the compressed frame behind the vertical, decide about the long-term incorrect training that potentially is in the horses, and then go for the impulsion, powerful and athletic, and elastic and expressive movement. So this is the problem I have with the marking of dressage, that the rider can display a fault, and it's almost like the horse with the least faults, the least number of faults, not the actual quality of the fault, is the one that's going to win. But yeah, lovely horse, lovely, but ooh, hands, yuck. I don't like those hands. But as I was about to say, lovely horse, lovely performance. Yes, he's lacking impulsion, not athleticism, impulsion. He's lacking some expression. There's something going on here that this horse is not as happy about as he could be. And something the rider is doing with the hands to potentially adjust that or improve it. Or, yeah, let me know in the comments what these riders are trying to do by leaning back, by pulling back on the reins here and there. Yeah, this horse does not quite have the reach of this horse or Becky's horse. Yeah, it's quite limited there. Sorry, I couldn't stop these horses in their reach positions. Let's see what we can do. Nope, I have to go back. Yeah, look how this rider has to lean, whereas Becky's horse here is doing the leaning. This horse is well balanced with good amount of lift there. Ooh, Jessica leaning right back there. And I would say this horse has become behind the vertical here. And there's potentially a change of direction coming here. Oh, just saw a good reach there. 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 So Jessica's horse and Becky's horse look a lot more settled into this movement. And although Miroslav's horse has some jump, some athleticism, he's not putting in the amount of reach required here in the lateral movement. Oh, those hands, those hands. And they turn the corner. What we have here is, yeah, a very leaning back behind the vertical, some mouth opening. Why? And Becky maintaining good vertical positioning there. and her horse. Could you call this behind the vertical? Because the horse is cantering, so there may be a point that the horse moves slightly behind the vertical, because when they canter, as they make contact with the ground on the downward phase, they're not reaching forwards with the head. They're more in a reach position as they push off from the ground. But good from Miroslav there. Or you can see how much, you could see how much the horse lacked expression. But I like the picture this horse makes when I freeze the film. This just looks more stilted. This is very good. But I think overall, this horse is delivering elasticity, but perhaps not so much impulsion. Are the judges prioritizing impulsion over stepping forward to the bit, straight and supple pole? Yeah, you can see this just looks mildly compressed in the front end, and I just think to myself, where are these back legs going to go? This horse looks tense. Becky's horse looks good. Great jump off the ground there. Good hands. But yeah, this horse, every time I stop the film, this horse looks pleasing. Perhaps except not the pole at the highest point. But if you take into consideration the horse's crest, so if we followed the line here, the pole is just about the highest point, whereas it's not here. It's almost level here. Let's go on. So they're doing the changes now, tempi changes, and these should look effortless, but they should still be expressive. Here. Not much film there. Sorry, that was a short clip. And extended trot. Yeah, very good. I think I've said it before, too much leg movement for me. Although Becky's horse is really extravagant here, but generally good. Perhaps lost marks for the hand movement, for the contact, and possibly because this hind leg makes contact with the ground significantly far in advance of the diagonal forelimb, is the horse being compressed slightly in front so that when he pushes off from behind, there's a time lag for the forelimb to make contact with the ground. But yes, in fairness to this horse, he's not a leg mover in so much as I can see here, leg movement, hollow back. Lovely frame there from Becky. This horse, in contrast to this one, at least sits down to the movement. Perhaps more so even than Becky's horse. But he's got this pulling back action. It's very strange. I will show you that again. Just see, it's almost, it's not head bobbing. It's almost as if what the rider is doing with the hands is being reflected in the horse's mouth. Again, we've caught Jessica rather hollow there. Slight hollowing from Becky. Ooh, this is really horrible. I'll show you that again. But yeah, I'd love you to comment on that. Passage. Yeah, some good steps there, but not quite enough expression for a stallion at the Olympics, for whatever reason. And centre line, passage to halt. See that again? We're looking for lift. Yeah, this is good from Miroslav. There's lift. It may look good from this angle, maybe because we are unable to assess his hand movements. And of course, the camera angle is such that he's not directly in front of us. I don't think he's made an error, of course. But yeah, lovely horse. Basically correct, but potentially not quite performing to his best on the day. Horse and rider harmony, I suspect that's what he may have lost marks for. And as we see them walking away, let's look at these walks now. Jessica's horse, a terrifically long neck, but not stretching down, reaching. Looks a little, not what I would call entirely normal, high quality. Looks a little unnatural to me. Yeah, I mean, unless the horse was just going to move into trot. This horse was reaching upwards in the walk, although none of these horses are being marked for this walk. But we'll just look at that again. It just looks like an unnatural walk. Reaching up. Maybe to look at something. Now let's go back and see Miroslav's horse. Yeah, that looks more natural to me. The horse is reaching down and forwards. Nothing unusual about that. Which, yeah, to me reflects good training or correct training. Back lifts up. There's some reach with the legs. Yeah, good. Let's have a look at Becky's walk. Lovely walk, very composed, whole body movement, good head carriage without contact. Now, these are some interesting slow motion shots which are in the original film. Let's see what's going on here. He's landing a little heavy in the saddle. And passage, yeah, I recognized that he had good passage steps. And not much to report there, but here is where we have the problem. It's the rider's hands, the contact. And you can see the horse is just almost pushing the head down as the rider appears to be pulling back. I'll show you that again, but we'll look to the end for that. And some mouthing here and a horizontal curb bit there. It should be no more than 45 degrees. Look again. Yeah, I just don't like what's going on here. Oh, sorry, I'm going to show you that again because it just gets worse. Look at the pole. There's no suppleness of the pole there at all. I really don't know why he's doing that to this horse or what he's trying to achieve, what he's communicating. So without looking at the performance of every single horse, yes, this horse lost marks for errors of course or missing a movement or two. I saw a classically athletic horse. I don't like the position of the saddle. I wonder if it's causing the restriction that stallion is showing. Does he deserve to be last? As I say, he could have lost marks well, he would have lost marks for errors, of course, and the napping. But yes, I can see how difficult it is for the judges to mark, because should they be deducting more marks for some aspects of the performance, such as the contact, the rider's hands, the obvious rider faults, or do they need another system? I do think this needs a good overhaul in order for the marking to be fairer. But I think, number one, the horses need to show athleticism, and they can show that athleticism without that being muddled with expression. So let me know what you think. And in the next video, I'll be getting back to some more about Charlotte Dujardin, because I have read the autobiography twice, and there are certain things in there that concern me about training methods and potentially how she's become the rider that she is today, as I see it.